Hello there, Ray here, and what I have here is a lag-friendly witch killing platform. This killing platform allows the witch's loot to be able to be taken straight to the storage sorter without using any hoppers, droppers, or minecarts. The way that this works is that the witches will fall down from the witch farm up above, and they will land on top of these closed fence gates, which will kill them. Their loot will land on the fence gate as well as fall through the gaps between them. To get the loot off the top of the fence gates, there is a clock here that counts down until a certain amount of time. And this clock starts counting as soon as the first witch comes through these tripwires here. Once the clock reaches a designated time, which is usually between 1 and 4.5 minutes, the pistons here will shift these fence gates, allowing the loot to fall down into the water streams. And from here they will be taken directly to the storage sorter without using any hoppers, droppers, or minecarts. The advantages of using this system is that it causes less lag than other ways of collecting the witch's loot. This system avoids using hoppers, which are always checking for items above them that they can pull in. By not using hoppers, it also does not have any droppers to send the items into the ice streams. Making the loot go through a dropper means that for every item that is needed to go through that dropper, it needs to be powered and depowered, which really adds up when you start getting into the thousands and thousands of items per hour, such as these witch farms. It also doesn't use any hopper minecarts, which are entities and they are always moving and are always checking for items above them as well. The farm above my killing platform is my efficient witch farm design that uses no tile entities or entities within it. So it's great for servers that want to keep their server playable, yet still want to have an efficient witch farm. This is the 1.9 version. And to upgrade the 1.8 version to the 1.9 version, all you need to do is come in here and swap out the soul sand, or swap out the blocks that were in here for soul sand, since soul sand allows witches to shift through in 1.9 as well. And then you just have to come back here and change this repeater on all of them to 4 redstone ticks. So that's all there is needed to upgrade it to 1.9. I've also added in a switch over here that comes up and goes into these lights, and these lights allow me to turn the farm off. So all these lights do is just bring some lighting in here, preventing the witches from being able to spawn within inside the farm. Combining my efficient witch farm with this lag-friendly killing platform is a great witch farm setup overall. In 1.9, witch farms produce less than they did in 1.8. But the ideal witch farm in 1.9 would produce around 6,300 items per hour at 20 ticks per second. This farm here produces around 6,100 items per hour at 20 ticks per second. Although this farm does not reach the maximum output under ideal circumstances, it can produce more items per real life hours. This is because this farm contributes very little stress to the server and will allow the server to stay at about 20 ticks per second always. And this allows you to get the full 6,100 items per hour. On the other hand, a very laggy witch farm that produces around 6,300 items per hour causes the server to run at about 19 ticks per second, will only produce around 5,985 items per hour, which is less than my farm. At 19 ticks per second is pretty common on servers if you don't avoid building laggy machines. On the right hand side you can see that there is a scoreboard that is keeping track of the total items, total time in both game and real time, as well as the average ticks per second and the items to time ratios. This is Panda4994's item counter command, which is very useful in keeping track of items outputs of farms which have their items that are collected directly from the farm. I ran this farm for 20 hours and got an average of 6,100 items per hour. The score on the right is the small sample of what you can get as a result, and you can see that even my basic laptop can easily keep the server at 20 ticks per second. Because items are released at increment times, the items per hour on the scoreboard can fluctuate up and down, and there's about 150 items that come through when the floors shift about every 4 minutes. So just having one item sorter per item should be able to handle this amount of items. And if you have a quad witch hut setup, you can have it so that the shifting floors of each of the quad witch huts alternate between the 4 of them so that they're not too many items coming in all at once. Any witches that fall through the gates, if they happen to get nudged, they can fall in between the four of these gates like that. Or if the gates happen to shift while a witch is kind of here, it'll glitch right through the gates. And those witches will just get pushed down and pushed into this lava blade here, which will kill the witch fairly quickly. I have made another design just over here where it's cobble and gates, and this design doesn't allow any witches to fall in between them, but this design does not allow the items to fall through as easily as this design does, so that's why I went with this design. And to prevent the items from glitching through and like glitching out of the farm because of 1.9, I put an air gap around this whole thing, and also has some iron bars here just for more air gap to allow the items to fall straight down and not get glitched through the walls. So the object of the tripwire is so that if there's no witches spawning in your floor, this clock will stop sending items through here. Now, if you do not like having this tripwire here, you can just remove the tripwire and just have the clock run on its own. And this is probably something that maybe people who have their witch farm in a certain spot so that's always loaded would use instead of having it turned off automatically, or have these smart tripwires here to operate it. I'm using a hopper clock here to time the shift of the floors, but you can do this without any hoppers if you want to, just by using some repeaters instead, and then this entire farm can just be without any tile entities. And the nice thing about that is when you shut this farm down, like here I got a lever that shuts everything down, this wire here goes up and just lights up the farm, and then it also comes across these hoppers here and powers them, just because that reduces lag. And when you power this farm down, the nice thing about this farm is that it doesn't cause any lag to you, because everything in here is not a tile entity, and therefore you don't have to worry about having extra stuff in your world that's going to lag it up. I did put slabbing over top of all of the wiring, even though in 1.9 mobs cannot spawn on top of wiring, but in 1.8 you will want to have these slabs on top of the wiring. The amount of delay that you want to have your hopper clock or your repeater line have just depends on how far your storage sorter is from your witch farm, and you want to have it so that your items will be able to reach the sorter before they despawn. And here I just have it so that it goes down to a monostabler. Then there is a pulse lengthener here that just allows it to pulse a second time, and this just allows the floors to shift twice, which just guarantees that all the items will fall through by the second shift. I will probably use this for our quad witch farm on Prototech, and I may even use this for other farms just to reduce lag. There is a world download in the description if you would like to build this type of witch farm and this killing platform for your very own witch farm. There you have it, a lag-friendly witch killing platform and my efficient witch farm that I upgraded to 1.9. If you found this interesting, show me with a like. If you would like to see more content like this, subscribe. And if you have any questions, be sure to comment. Bye bye!